Welcoming everyone to another live episode of 410 Sports Talk, coming to you a little bit earlier in the week than we typically do, due to, of course, the holiday. But very excited to be here to preview this. This is a must-win, Jimbo. I mean, you talk about must-wins. This is definitely one of those games, and it's an exciting game. This coming Sunday against the Cincinnati Bengals is a chance for the Ravens to avenge the beatdown that the Bengals put on the Ravens back in Baltimore a few weeks earlier. So, Jimbo, how you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, man. Work is done, and I'm ready to celebrate at least a long weekend. I mean, I'm sure similar to yourself, I got to work all next week as well, and then have a long weekend again. But doing well, hanging in there, getting ready for a holiday, and excited about it. But I'll tell you what, this show is going to be interesting. One thing I just want to say off the jump is that I know there's going to be a lot of questions in the chat, and this might bear repeating, about the Pro Bowl and COVID. We're going to talk about COVID. We're going to reserve some of our thoughts on the Pro Bowl because we'll be putting a video out on both things tomorrow. Tonight's going to be a little truncated because we want to focus on the preview. Obviously, COVID having more to do that with the Pro Bowl. We're going to focus on that. But, yeah, man, I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Doing good. Like you said, getting ready for the holiday, but excited about this weekend. I mean, this is a huge end for a lot of teams around the league, and certainly the Ravens big one for them as well. So I'm excited to get into it. We got lots to talk about. So let's jump right into it. And of course, we always start with the injury report, but because of the unique situation, we have kind of like two injury reports. Every team has like two injury reports, normal injury report, and of course the COVID reserve list. Right. That is at this point. Do you remember a time at any point in the last couple of years where there was more players out for COVID across the league?
Yeah, no, I think the NFL had their record number of cases. I think it was over 70. I think it was like 73 or something like that. And this was a few days ago. I want to say a week ago. And I think it's only gotten worse since then. You know, more teams and players have gotten popular. I think the NFL has drawn a line in the sand with COVID and said, hey, COVID, do what you may. We making money.
Yeah,
we making money over here.
Nothing down. We might extend a game to Tuesday, but we ain't shutting nothing down. What's going on, Ryan?
I like that you said Tuesday. Tuesday, that was Baltimore through and through right there, man.
You know,
Tuesday,
come by it naturally. Is that what? No. Honestly, come by it honestly.
There you go. I like it. That was awesome. I needed that.
And really quickly for the chat, for my Laney baby, that's my buddy Ryan Laney right there. So nice. Merry Christmas to you, and of course your daughter as well. But
yeah, man.
Merry Christmas to everyone. I mean, Lisa Ann, appreciate you coming out. Fabian, Abdi, Hassan, appreciate you coming out, as well as is it Niwan, Kapia?
That was a really good.
It was not a bad effort. Okay.
Yeah, I was
Dawson, appreciate you coming out. Merry Christmas to everyone. And of course, we'll do more shout outs later on in the show. But yeah, let's get into the ever-growing and scary and terrifying COVID list. And let's see what we got. So, Jimmy, why don't you go through the list?
Yeah, man, no problem. Jamison Hensley put out a tweet today. Of course, the Ravens placed a few more people on COVID at this point. So just to keep you up to date, tight end Josh Oliver on reserve COVID-19, increasing the total number to 12. And DK, do you know, has this list gone up to 15? I think it's up to 15 now. Anyway, if anybody knows that, but I think I saw a tweet from Jeff Zrebeck that it is up to 15. Point being, here are the others. Geno Stone, Justin Metabike, huge loss. Chris Board, Welch, who's a key pivotal special teams contributor, Justin Houston, Pernell McPhee, Sammy Watkins, of course, last week hasn't tested negative. Same thing with Chuck Clark, hasn't tested negative. Same thing with Jimmy Smith. Same thing with Westrian. Same thing with Tristan Colon. So I don't know at this point. It's Wednesday. So I don't know if there's a chance that any of the last 5 guys can test negative enough times based on the new protocol to come back to this game. And honestly, we don't know what the vaccination status is for those players. So we don't know if they're under, if they're under the truncated period in which they can come back or not. Because I think for unvaccinated, it's still pretty rigid. I'm pretty sure it's really applied to vaccinated players. So a serious list, like you said, this isn't even the injury report. and a lot of key contributors there. Glenn, I think to me, the biggest ones are Chuck Clark still, Sammy Watkins still, but you can't leave out the impact of a Justin Houston, of a Justin Metabike, and even a Geno Stone who wore the green dot last week.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at the corners. This is already a thin group, and you may be without Jimmy Smith and Chris Westry. So I mean, defensively, they are getting hit very, very hard. Only 3 offensive players on this entire list, with Oliver, Sammy Watkins, and of course Tristan Colon, who is right now a reserve player. So the importance. It's definitely hitting the defense. I mean, the defense right now, when I last saw, they had 15 healthy players on their entire roster that played on the defensive side of the ball. And a couple of those guys were already questionable with injuries of their own, like Calais Campbell and Tavon Young. So, man, I mean, it's just like you expect things to kind of start to go the other direction and bounce back a little bit. But every week it seems like we're talking about more guys the Ravens are going to have to replace or play without.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate, man. I don't know what else to do at this point other than let's just keep this thing rolling and get to the injury report, because if not, I'm just going to sulk.
Yeah, and there is some good, news on the injury report, I guess.
Yeah, fair enough.
There's some good, and starts with the big guy, Calais Campbell. He got in limited sessions both Wednesday and today, so that's encouraging because the previous weeks he wasn't practicing. So the fact that he's at least able to practice in a limited fashion means that he's inching closer and hopefully will be out there. And also some other big news. Patrick McCarry is back at practice, which is a massive
in a
improvement.
Cast, though.
Yeah, in a cast. So he's going to be limited in his ability to grab and hold. But when you consider the other injuries at right tackle and the COVID list at right tackle, I don't know who they would have put out there, because if I remember correctly, Sharp is dealing with some issues with that. Obviously, as well. Tyree. Yeah, Tyree's got the knee, who's not practicing. So if McCarry can be back out there, huge addition.
They went to McCarry and said, "Look,
we need you.
We need you.
Let's stick them on that cast. At least you can stick to guys.
This might encourage us to give you a contract in this offseason. Like, come on out here,
please."
But Ravens O's Nation, I want to well, I'm going to read this first and say I completely understand. Guys, it's all my fault. Every time I've worn Ravens gear during a game, they lost. Every time I have worn a regular T-shirt, they have won. I understand that completely, Ravens O's Nation. But you know what? I'm going to tell you not to give up. Don't give up yet. But this I will say. I am starting to become a little bit of not a skeptic, have some superstitions myself, and you might see that reflected in my picks tonight. So,
it's funny he says that, though, because it's everywhere in sports. I remember all growing up, and even now, if we all went to a game, me, my dad, my brother, if anyone was new, like if my brother missed the previous game, but he was at this one and we lost, then the blame was all on him and his shoulders, and he was the bad luck charm. Of course, a lot of this is half joking, but then when my son was born, I remember, my dad had never lost. The Ravens had never lost when my dad and my son were in the same room. There's all these growing and new forming superstitions. So
yeah, when the Ravens start losing, my wife goes upstairs because she thinks she's convinced she's bad luck.
See, so you're not the only one.
Yeah.
But let's, just to be safe, get you some plain shirts.
Yeah, and a couple other things I do want to mention here. I know that we were kind of going through this, and like you said, there's obviously good news with McCarry. But Brandon Stevens out with an illness.
Not COVID, though.
We'll see.
So maybe it's
right?
that stomach
he hasn't
bug.
tested positive yet.
Right, but and even if it is that stomach bug that Lamar and a couple other guys were dealing with, that pushed him out of the game. So
but I tell you what, that's a huge loss, I feel like, don't you?
Oh my gosh, a massive loss. This guy has been a lifesaver on the back end of this defense.
Yeah.
Made a bunch of huge plays. Tackling in the open field is something he's improved at every week and has become a real asset. So if he's out, I mean, who are you going to put at free safety, especially with Geno Stone on the COVID list?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be really.
I don't know who would you put it?
Tony?
At free?
I mean, I don't know.
You don't have a choice, right? I mean, I guess you got to.
Think of the other names. Ardarius gone. I mean, I'm running out of names.
I mean, Jimmy Smith is on the list, and he would be a guy maybe you could see, but we haven't seen a ton of Jimmy playing safety in that traditional safety role. We've seen him do safety things, but
Sure.
yeah, that's a big one. So be on the lookout and see how Brandon Stevens progressive. He doesn't get a limited session tomorrow. I've started to have my doubts. I mean,
one thing I do want to point out is another shred of good news is Nick Boyle and Patrick Ricard, if I'm not mistaken. I think that this will be one of the healthiest times in combination that they're on the field together. Does that make sense?
Well, Nick Boyle didn't practice today.
No, but I would bet that he's going to play.
You think it's more of a rest day?
Yeah, I would bet that he's going to play, and it's nice to see that Ricard's out there. So, every week gets better and better for Nick, and obviously we want Ricard back. So, trying to find a silver lining here in this list. Obviously, the elephant in the room, Lamar Jackson is not practicing,
which means he's not playing, guys.
Yeah.
Not going to play. Yeah. And all the people who said it just gets me so fired up. All the Lamar Jackson fans who aren't Ravens fans who get after me when I suggest that a healthy practicing Tyler Huntley might be the better option this week against the Bengals than a no practice hobbled 75-80% Lamar Jackson. He's not going to play, so you better start embracing Tyler Huntley instead of, I love this how you can, you can champion for Lamar Jackson, but at the like I can't champion for both Tyler and Lamar, but yet, people can easily come out and try and pick apart poor Tyler Huntley, who's all he's doing is proving that as a backup, he's valuable and he can be counted on. I get sick and tired of these fans that are just Lamar fans and not Ravens fans that look at any opportunity to tear down every other part of the team, the coaching staff, the offensive line, the receiving core, the defense, everything except for Lamar Jackson. I'm getting a little irritated. I don't know if you can tell, Jimbo, but I'm getting fired up about the fans that are choosing to only support Lamar Jackson and not the rest of the Ravens. Well, I'm a Ravens fan. I'm a Lamar Jackson fan, but I'm also, more importantly, I'm a Ravens fan. I was a fan of the Ravens before Lamar got here, and I'll be a fan of the Ravens in hopefully 20 years when he finally hangs it up. I'll still be a fan of them at that point. So we're going to see Tyler Huntley this week, and I'm going to support the heck out of him.
There you go. Amen. Amen to all of that, and I totally agree and hope that you guys do the same. So let's skim through the Bengals injuries real quick. They don't have a ton.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is that they're pretty light at linebacker. We've been hearing about that, of course, and especially with Logan Wilson out, who's an absolute tackling machine. Mm-hmm. There's a few other names in there.
But you're right. That's the big one. Logan Wilson, he's, like you said, I mean, an absolute machine when it comes to taking down the ball carrier. Raven O's Nation says, I'm sorry to interrupt again, but I remember people doing the same thing when I campaigned for Lamar to start over Joe in 2018. Yeah, there was doubters to Lamar, absolutely. It's just I just don't like that you can't say that one guy's might be a better option this week. It just gets me so. And if you suggest that, then you hate Lamar. You don't deserve him. He should leave Baltimore. You fans are trash. It's just stop. You're being ridiculous. The guy's hurt. The guy is hurt. I mean, stop it.
Now, the one thing I will say, I will maintain my position on, even with just a walkthrough on Friday, I would still prefer a Lamar Jackson out there. But I understand your point.
What do you think John prefers?
I don't know.
I mean, it's pretty clear. If a guy doesn't practice all week, he never plays.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think he prefers a guy that can practice.
Yeah, that might be fair. To every rule, there's an exception, right?
Well, I mean, I guess if Justin Tucker didn't practice all week, then he'd go out because a field goal is still a field goal. But it helps if your quarterback can be involved in the game plan. And
absolutely.
You can't
just because
deny
I agree
the timing.
with your point, just because I agree with your point doesn't mean I can't have a separate. You got to support them both. Be a Ravens fan. Want the team to prosper and win. I want Tyler to go out there and light it up. And if it's Lamar, I want Lamar to go out there and light it up. It's just a preference of mine is what I'm trying to say. We disagree on that point, but I still totally back your logic. Duh. You know what I mean? So I'm with you 1,000%. Not a ton to report here, guys. Might be because there's no nightlife, according to Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, that no one's getting COVID. But maybe the Ravens should, take a cue from old Joey B and not enjoy so much nightlife these days. But all right, let's get right to it. Let's talk numbers.
Let's talk
Glenn.
some stats. Yeah, let's talk a little bit of numbers. We do this every week when talking. Now, we also, when we have opportunities, like to look at their head-to-head matchup previously. So we're fortunate in that we can look at a game just a few weeks back where these two teams played each other. But defensively for the Bengals, I could talk numbers, I can do all that, but the big thing I want to stress to the fans, the scary part of their defense is, of course, their pass rush and what they were able to do last time they faced the Ravens. They had 5 sacks, including one from Trey Hendrickson, which, by the way, it felt like 5 from Trey Hendrickson as much as he was in the backfield. But Hubbard, 2.5 sacks. Larry Ogunjobi, 1.5 sacks, who's been a real star. Real surprise, I should say, for them in the pass rush he's been able to create. 5 sacks, and then look, the secondary is playing a lot better. I mean, Eli Apple, as much as he's running his mouth, he's backing it up in some areas. He's got a couple picks in the recent weeks, and he's starting to feel himself a little bit. Now, he's an underperforming guy. He's a guy who's a first-round pick, former top 13 pick. He's on his third team. So what's that tell you? They tell you he underperformed. But right now he's playing his best football of his career, and you got to respect what he's going to bring to the table. But is there anything else that scares you about this defense that I'm missing, or is it mainly that pass rush?
So it's a combination, and I'll kind of get into our offense. But yeah, the front is the scariest of the entire defensive. Now they got some good safeties. I'm not worried about the corners. I think if you look at our receivers versus their corners, I think our receivers have the upper hand. So I'm not concerned about that. It's encouraging, not that I want guys to be injured, but it's encouraging that they are light at linebacker from a strategic standpoint and any sort of a competitive advantage. But this I will say, I did learn today that the Ravens on the road, their pressure rate and sack rate is double that of at home.
Interesting.
So
I wonder, maybe that's because they can hear the offenses.
No. Sorry. So what I mean is that we are allowing pressures and sacks double on the road as what we are.
Offensively.
So, that
makes sense.
My point is that just makes the proposition of their front even scarier. Right,
and they have their biggest crowd. I remember Orange and Black Insider said that they're expected to have their biggest crowd in like a decade.
Yeah, great, perfect. So
100% full.
Yeah, fun. All right. Yeah. So yeah, but absolutely that compounds my concerns for the Baltimore Ravens. Just to get us some quick stats, if that comforts anyone. I don't know if it will here, but I want to talk about, this is the only thing I want to do offensively, guys. I don't want to highlight everything, but I do want to talk about Tyler Huntley. 2 touchdowns last week, two rushing, 2 passing, over 280 yards. I think he had a 99 QBR.
Quarterback rating, yeah.
Yeah, last week as well. Only quarterback in Ravens history to do that, in that 2 rushing touchdowns and 2 passing touchdowns in the same game for a total of 4. Lamar Jackson's actually never done that, which is absolutely surprising, but a pretty cool tidbit. And of course, no turnovers. So the reason I'm bringing this up is Tyler's at this point the catalyst for the offense. He's got to play a clean game. That's number one. And then he's got to make plays down the field. The other thing I just want to mention, I'm going to roll right into my key to the game, Glenn, is their depleted linebackers. And I think it's interesting because I'm wondering if you read my key to the game previously. Point is, my key to the game is that we need to take advantage with our tight ends of their thin linebacking core. Expose them in coverage, get Andrews the ball over and over and over again, even get some of the other guys and the backs involved in this passing game. Anytime a linebacker is matched up against a back or a tight end, let's get him the ball because it's a 3rd, 4th stringer. Let's take advantage of our matchups and make it easy for Snoop. So if we have a chance in this game offensively, I think that'll be a big piece of it.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, my key to the game offensively is winning the turnover battle. But I 100% agree with yours. I think, and that kind of goes into my breakout player and who I'm predicting. But
Yeah.
just to kind of double down on yours, if you look over the Bengals' last few weeks, in their games, they played the Denver Broncos last week. Noah Fant and I can't remember the other tight end went over 100 yards combined. Then the week before that, they played the Niners, and I mean George Kittle does this to a lot of teams, but he absolutely thrashed them. Yeah, this is a game where I expect Mark Andrews to absolutely dominate, but you always have to keep in mind that the defense knows its inefficiencies. It knows its weaknesses. So I'll be interested to see how the Bengals try and game plan against Mark Andrews because they know he's a favorite. I mean,
Yep.
as much as he's a favorite of Lamar Jackson, he might even be more of a favorite of Tyler Huntley. I mean, this guy, he gets double-digit catches, it seems like, every time Tyler Huntley plays a full game. So I think that you're right. But to me, it's about the turnover battle. The Ravens have been poor all year. When it comes to hanging onto the ball and making sure, you can sustain drives. But the Cincinnati Bengals haven't necessarily been the greatest at it either. I mean, Joe Burrow's thrown 14 interceptions this year. So this is a team that will turn the ball over, but they'll also turn you over. So to me, it comes down to taking advantage of all your offensive possessions. Don't give the other team the ball carelessly and set up a short field for their offense. So to me, it's about turnovers. If we win this turnover battle, which we haven't won a lot of this year, and as bad as the Bengals have been, they haven't been great, but they're still a whole lot better than what the Ravens have been. So hopefully the Ravens can win the turnover battle. I think that makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And we'll need to do that. Tyler's going to need to play clean. So who's your breakout player of the game, Glenn?
Yeah, I mean, it's Mandrews. I got to keep riding the hot hand. I can't imagine the Bengals, even with their game plan, which I'm sure they're going to bracket him. I'm sure they're going to do as much as they can to limit his touches. I just think the Ravens will find a creative way to get the guy open. Yeah. He's going to dominate the middle of the field. But most importantly, once he gets the ball, good luck trying to bring this guy down. I mean, the guy is just an absolute monster. I think he tows guys. He drags guys. He was he's been like Superman these last couple of weeks, the way he's been playing out there. And so I think he continues to put on a show. I think he gets in the end zone, and I think he goes over 100 yards.
Yeah, that was part of the reason why I thought that outside of the play call, cutting off half the field, like throwing him the ball in that situation in the 2-point conversion, he was already gassed. Of course, he's not going to say no, but dude, he looked so done before that play. He'd given so much that it was kind of like, ugh. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. He's just a matchup nightmare.
Yep.
He's too fast for linebackers and big.
He's
tall.
So big. People forget how big that dude is.
He's almost 280 pounds, 6'5".
That's a big
huge
dude. And ripped. And you're talking of all that, he is ripped up. There ain't no fat on his body.
No, I mean, it's ridiculous. Mine's actually Rashad Bateman in that I'm assuming that they're going to attack really hard the light linebacker crew. And I think that Andrews will get a lot, but I think that Rashad's going to get some action, win a decent amount of one-on-one battles in the end zone, the outside stuff. And Huntley and him seem to have a connection. So I think this will be a big game for Rashad Bateman, and he will get in the end zone. I keep saying that. All right, let's switch it over to the other side of the coin here, Glenn. Let's talk about their offense versus our defense. Little bit of a nerve-wracking proposition here that the Ravens are up against, but what do we got?
Yeah, their offense is no joke. So they rank 9th overall in points and 15th overall in yards, and they get that through, they're ranked number 11th in passing yards and 20th in rushing yards. So bit of a lean in yardage towards their passing game, but they're certainly still more than capable when you look at their running back group. This is a well-rounded offense. I mean, I'm looking at their numbers. They already have a 1,000-yard receiver in Jamar Chase, and they have a 1,000-yard rusher in Joe Mixon. So it's like they can do both at a very high level, and of course, backing those guys up, they're no slouches either. You got Samaje Perine backing up Joe Mixon, who's averaging almost 4.5 yards a carry.
And you can be creative with him too.
And if I remember correctly, didn't he pop a big run in the Ravens game at the very end? that kind of really sealed the victory.
Yep.
And then behind Jamar Chase, you got Tyler Boyd, who's got over 700 yards. You got T. Higgins, who's got over 800 yards. And you got CJ Uzomah, who, if anyone watched that first Ravens game, remembers that guy. And he's got 5 touchdowns, which is second on their team behind only Jamar Chase. So their offense is absolutely loaded at every skill position. And, of course, Joe Burrow leading the way with 26 touchdowns already this season. I mean, it's a talented group, Jimbo. I mean, it's hard to find an area where you don't see a ton of talent offensively.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a problem. They are loaded for sure. I mean, it's undeniable. Even if you don't like them, if you're not a fan of the team, I mean, it's being as objective as possible. They're absolutely loaded. So, I'm looking at the Ravens stats defensively, and it's really unfortunate that 2 things are happening. Our points per game defensively allowed is going up, and our offensive points per game is going down so simultaneously these things are happening. It's just a concern. 22.5 points is what we're giving up right now. And then as far as, from passing, we're giving up 264 per game. So if I'm not mistaken, I think that's gone down a bit, trended in the right direction. And of course, rushing 86 is still a great mark for the Baltimore Ravens and still first in the league. So, I mean, look, the thing about the Ravens that I think is important is that they do find ways to tighten up in the red zone and to tighten up in the red zone and to tighten up on third down, but certainly in the red zone. And that's where I felt like the Packers defense was kind of a facade because they're so bad on third down and so bad in the red zone. Tyler Huntley took advantage of that. And the Ravens, I think, are a little bit of the opposite of that, where some of their numbers are so inflated, but in those crucial situations, Wink does find, in a lot of times, a way to get it done defensively. But the problem is COVID. The only name really we have coming back is Calais Campbell, who at his age is playing too much, and that's why he keeps getting beat up. He's playing over 75% of the defensive snaps. It's a problem. They need to find a way to make him last throughout the season. So, it's a serious proposition, like you mentioned. But Glenn, what is your defensive key to the game?
Well, it's a familiar one. It's tackling, because if anyone remembers that first matchup, tackling is the reason the Ravens lost. They turned the Bengals turned short plays into big plays. It was not just tackling; it was also some blown coverages, which they've cleaned up, at least as of here lately, and they've also improved in tackling as well. But man, you talking Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, CJ Uzomah. They're both, and even, T. Higgins is a big physical guy. What's his name? Tyler Boyd is a guy who I think is super underrated. We talked on this show last 3 years. He might be one of the most underrated receivers in football over the last, 3
and the
4
Ravens
years.
Certainly know him.
Yeah, he's certainly broken some hearts here in Baltimore. But so to me, it's about tackling. I mean, I cannot watch another game where I see Jamar Chase catch a 1-yard screen or even a negative 1-yard screen, and then he makes one guy miss, some good blocking. We have a blown tackle where Patrick Queen short arms him trying to push him out of bounds, and boom, he's gone for 60.
Mm-hmm.
We can't see CJ Uzomah,
zooming by.
Yeah, just manhandling people, pushing people off of them, Mandrew style, like we did last week. I mean, last matchup. The biggest thing is, can you get Joe Mixon on the ground when he's in space? Can you keep Jamar Chase bottled up when he's in space? And can you bring down the big fella when he gets the ball over the middle of the field? If they can just tackle and limit the yak yards, both yards after catch and yards after first contact, I think that goes a long way. Because, look, even in that game that was a blowout, when I look back at that game, the Ravens had a lead in the third quarter. So it's not like it was a complete destruction from start to finish. It's just they closed the game on such a run that it made the game look like an absolute blowout. But a lot of that was just big plays due to failures on the defense. So as long as they can tackle well, I think they got a good shot slowing them down.
And who is your defensive player of the game?
My defensive player of the game is a guy who I think is going to be relied upon a ton. And for that reason, I think he'll have an opportunity to really show out. And so I'm going to go with Patrick Queen. I think Pat Queen is a huge, important factor here. He's got to do a lot to slow down Uzomah when he catches the ball. And the biggest thing is Joe Mixon. How do you deal with him out of the backfield as a receiver, as well as him on those stretch runs that they love to run over in Cincinnati?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. So my defensive and that's risky business taking PQ as well. I mean, they don't have Mercedes Lewis over there, so I think you're okay. But certainly my defensive key to the game is, and Lisa, you kind of asked this question: how do we contain Joe Burrow? I think you get pressure on him. Joe has a way; he's still taking a lot of pressure, still taking a lot of sacks. Their offensive line is not in good shape. Still needs a lot of work. So I know that we're depleted, overall, but maybe Odafe Owe gets close to, me eating this microphone cover, but I noticed the chatter on that really has died down. But point being, if we can find a way to get to Joe, he's still shown that he's susceptible to mistakes. And that might be a way we can win the turnover battle, like you mentioned. Mm-hmm. The Ravens get a turnover or two and Tyler plays clean. We get 7 or 10 extra points on the board. That might be, a really huge swing in the favor of the Baltimore Ravens. So mine is get pressure on him, find a way to get home through hook or crook. And my defensive player of the game, Glenn, I'm not gonna lie, guys. Initially, I put no one, but I have since amended it.
Got to put someone.
I know. I'm going with Anthony Averett. I think Anthony Averett does a great job on Jamar Chase in this game. Mm-hmm. I feel good about Anthony's speed and being able to keep up with him. And so, yeah, I'm going with Anthony Averett. I feel good about this one. He might get a turnover, might not. But either way, I think that he will do a great job on Jamar Chase and avenge his buddy Marlon Humphrey.
Wow.
But, okay. Glenn, look, this is an interesting time of the season because a lot of teams are going on runs. A lot of teams are getting hot. A lot of teams are going in the tank. Mm-hmm. Both ways you can make money. Mm-hmm. How do you see that working with our partner Symbol?
Oh, it's simple. I mean, you go over to Symbol. You decide to. The way I look at it is, you got to catch a team on the rise, or you got to catch a team that is down, but you think will be on the rise in the very near future, or for the long haul. So for me, I've had my eyes the last few weeks, and Jimmy can tell you, these Detroit Lions. I'm telling you what, yeah, they don't have the number 1 overall pick, but they love their coach. They play hard for him, and they got a ton of first rounders in the next few seasons. So if you want to invest your money in a wise, in a way where you at least have some experience, you have some intelligence, some knowledge, and you feel like you can, use your sports knowledge to make yourself some money, then go to Symbol.app and use promo code 410 to get your first $500 that you place in the market, and you can do so risk-free with that first $500. Don't worry about a thing. For the first, 6 months is it, Jimbo?
6 months, yep.
You can use that $500 in the Symbol market and see if you got a benefit out of it. And I think you will in a big way, as long as you place your you buy shares in the smart way. Of course, it's never a bad idea to buy shares for the Baltimore Ravens because we know they're a consistent winner, a team that will consistently be in position to compete for playoffs as well as the championship. But if you can catch a team that is a little low right now, but on the rise, like the Detroit Lions, that's the team I would jump on with, ride it out, and see if you can, turn a little bit of money into a lot of bit of money with a little bit of patience.
Absolutely. So make sure you guys go check it out. Either way, you can win. Pick a team that's getting hot in the playoffs. Pick a team that's in the basement right now, like Glenn said, that's trending up for the future. Because in the playoffs, you better believe if you got the right team that's going to the Super Bowl, you got stock in them. Of course, it's going to go up. Woo! You got stock in a team that's in the basement, but you feel good in their offseason moves, in their salary cap, and in their draft position. Go after them.
Yeah.
Right. Get them low so that way you can trend up in the offseason. So a lot of ways to make money, like Glenn said. Do it in a way that you have more experience than what you would have with Wall Street. So go check it out and make sure you use the promo code. All right, so let's get into our competition.
Hey, before I do, I want to ask you one quick question. Very quick. Sir. If the Ravens are faced with another scenario, they're on the road, there's 12 seconds left, they just punched it in.
Kick it. Kick it.
I disagree. I think you go for it. You continue to be aggressive, and you get it. Look, they want, everyone wanted them to kick it last week, right? Why did they want to kick it? They wanted to kick it because they said, we'd rather, instead of go for it for 2 yards to win the game, you know what we'd rather do? We'd rather take a 50-50 shot on a coin toss, take our chances with stopping Aaron Rodgers, and take our chances with our offense doing something they just did, go all the way down, and put us in position again to do the exact same. Or we could just take a 2-yard play and see what happens, see if we win it. I take the 2-yard play.
And that's a less than 50-50 proposition at this point.
Yeah, but not when you look at league-wide statistics on two-point conversions.
But the Ravens,
as of late. But how long was it? They had a good
7.
run. They had a good run, though.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I understand both points. The hard thing for me is that people are harping about the decision. Either way, we had to stop Aaron afterward. Still have 42 seconds in a timeout. So you guys can, folks can get hung up on that. But for me, I think that it's kick it and just try something different. Look, insanity is trying the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, right?
When did it become a thing where people just repeat the definition? Like, how many years ago was that the thing?
That's not actually the definition of insanity.
Who started that? First of all,
that's just a quote. That's not actually like
who started that. And now I hear the definition 50 times a year.
How about that? Madness is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Okay. All right.
So anyway, let's get into our competition here. And let's roll on through. Of course, this is our over-under competition, guys. It's a lot of fun. We do it every week. And this week, I realize it's a holiday week, so Santa's coming to town. We're going to do something a little different this week, guys. So if you're watching, you got the heads up. We are giving away a hoodie this week. Not a t-shirt,
special
a hoodie.
Christmas gift. Wow.
That's right. So if you
By the way, my favorite hoodie is our 410 hoodie. I got hoodies from Nike. I got hoodies from Under Armour. And I'm not joking. I am not just saying it because it's 410. I'm telling you, when you get the hoodie, you'll see why. First of all, let me just say this. The hood isn't overly long. When you put your hood up, it doesn't hang over your eyes like I'm a wizard.
You look like a Death Eater from Harry Potter.
What am I, Gandalf? I don't need a hood that wraps over my eyes like I'm the Ronin from Marvel. I don't need that. I love the hood. It's super soft. It's super warm, and it looks cool too.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're excited to do that. The winner will get a hoodie. So make sure to compete. There's an easy way to compete in the competition. We will reveal the categories, guess, and then the most accurate person wins the hoodie. I mean, it's really that simple. The way you submit your guesses or predictions, is after the show ends, put it in the comments or DM us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. And yes, Lisa, you might have a Ravens hoodie, but you do not have a 410 Sports Talk hoodie.
It's
Two different things.
That's better. Right. Believe me, I got like 30 hoodies. It's the best hoodie I got.
And it is certainly much more exclusive than a Ravens hoodie.
That's it.
Just saying. So, make sure you go check it out. But, Glenn, let's start with our over-unders. The first one is, now I'm not going to put these up on the screen because I'm not as fancy as DK, and DK has other business to attend to at this time. So, number of different pass catchers with a reception, tight ends and wide receivers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 7.5 players is the over-under line. They averaged 7. Tyler Huntley had 8 last week. So over-under, Glenn, will the Ravens have 7.5 players with a reception?
This is a tough one because Huntley does like to spread the ball. I mean, Lamar does as well with 7 his average being 7. But I think with the limitations due to COVID and injury, I think he's just going to have less opportunity. I'm not so sure if Sammy will be out there. Who knows with Pat Ricard? Who knows with Boyle? So I think for that reason, I'm going to go under, but I think it's barely. I think we hit right on our season average at 7.
Yeah, I'm going under as well, just simply because I don't expect Tylan Wallace and James Prochet to be out there making catches. Yeah. They might be out there on the field, but making catches like they were last week, that was certainly an anomaly.
Yeah.
So, all right. Next one, Ravens quarterback rating, 88.5. Lamar's rating is 87 as of late. Tyler's 89. So you put them in half, 88. You put them together, average them out, 88.5. Glenn?
Actually, it averages out to 88, but we had to put it at a half.
Oh, yeah. All right. So what's your take? Over, under 88.5?
I'm going to go over. I think Tyler Huntley continues to play well. I think they continue to make a custom game plan around him to emphasize his strengths and hide his weaknesses. And so for that reason, I'm also encouraged by Ben Cleveland and the fact that since he's been in there, the run game has opened up and we've seen a resurgence from guys like Latavius Murray. So for that reason, I think that improved run game leads to easier passing game. And for that reason, I say over 88.5.
Fair enough. I'm going under because I don't trust our offensive line. It's really that simple, especially on the road. They're
Got McCary
double as
back
bad.
though, but I see
Yeah,
your point.
they're doubly bad.
That silent snap count is doing us no favors on the road. No favors.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going under here, and that front is vicious. So defensively, Patrick Queen total tackles 9.5 tackles. His season average is 6. Of course, this 9.5 is coming on the heels of a game where I think he had 11, if I'm not mistaken, against the Green Bay Packers. So will Patrick Queen have over under 6.5 tackles? Glenn, what's your take?
This is a tough one for me because he's my breakout player, but I think 9.5 is just steep.
That's what I meant. Sorry, guys. Correction. 9.5, not 6.5. 9.5.
Yeah, 9.5 is a steep over under, even for a guy who, like you said, is playing a lot better. I look back at the Bengals game previously; he had 3 total tackles. So I say he's going to go under that, and that he'll earn his player of the game defensively, as I predicted. Through other facets. Like I think he gets a sack, and I think he gets just under 9.5 at 9. What do you think?
All right, fair enough. Yeah, I think he goes under as well. I just think last week was a bit an anomaly. I don't think he's a tackling machine.
Okay.
Yeah. So So last one, rushing yards allowed 95.5. So what this is between the Ravens season average and the last game results, which I kind of like. 95.5. I'm going to give you mine first. I'm going under because I think if the Ravens have anything to hold on to, it is making them beat them in the air, not allowing them to beat them on the ground. Now, this also comes on the heels of a previous matchup in which they ran the ball well. But I think the Ravens, knowing that they have serious desperation and holes in their secondary, have a serious priority on stopping the run more than ever because it's one of the greatest ways they can increase their likelihood of winning. So I'm going under 95.5. What about you?
I'm going to say over, and I'm not happy about this. And normally I would say under because they've been really good against the run, especially you take away a couple of those big runs early on, they've been phenomenal. But this game, it's a little different in that half their front 7 is on the COVID list. I mean, they're so depleted, mainly because of COVID that I don't know. Like our outside linebacker group is ridiculously depleted, and then even if Calais can go, he's not going to be 100% Calais. He's going to be a limited version of himself. So I have my doubts, and also I hate saying this, but I think that in the second half, the game could get a little bit away from the Ravens. Like I think the Ravens could be trying to play catch up. So the Bengals in turn are going to try and eat some clock. And I think the way they do that is on the ground. So unfortunately, I think they go over. I don't think they go crazy over, but I think they get to 100.
Fair enough. All right. Total yards now those are the 4 categories over under. Most important. However, we do have tiebreakers, guys. We have 2 close to the pins categories. One is total yards for the Ravens. Second is total score. But you have to pick your winner and the score. Winner, of course, counts before total points scored. So, first one, total yards for Ravens. Glenn, I'm going 320. Not feeling great about it. Not feeling great about it. I just don't think this is going to be a blockbuster game for the Baltimore Ravens. But
this is a must win. This is a game the Ravens typically win.
Yeah. This is, COVID is also not a typical thing. So it's just going to be a tough one, man. I don't see it happening. So, from an offensive standpoint. So yeah, 320. Where are you going?
All right. I'm going to go 350. And the reason being is mainly because I just split the difference between you and DK.
Nice.
But no. In all honesty, that's exactly what I did. I split the difference between you and DK because I'm tired of losing. I'm done with it. So I'm going to say 350. And really, I'm just playing the numbers.
Fair enough.
I'm scheming, okay? And so I hope that somewhere in there I end up I think it's going to be between you and DK, and so that's why I said it at 350.
All right, fair enough. All right, Glenn, why don't you the last category, of course, is combined score and winner. So give us your prediction of the outcome of this game, both winner and score.
Okay, I will. So for me this week, I think, again, this is a game where I think the Ravens, I mentioned it earlier. I think this is one of those games where the Ravens just find a way to somehow get out of there with a win. I think the Bengals will have a lead for the vast majority of this game, and I think they'll be trying to kill clock and hang on to that lead as the as the game progresses and we get in late in the second half. But I think the Ravens get a chance to get the ball back down about 4 points. I think it's about a 17-13 lead hit into the fourth quarter. And I think the Ravens put a drive together, led by, of course, Tyler Huntley. And they win this game 20-17 for a grand total score of 37 points. That's right, Jimbo. I'm switching it up on the fly. I think the Ravens find a way. Look, this is just, do the Bengals, in the history of these organizations, who wins this game? If you just go off their history, it's the Ravens. It's the Ravens. They're the Bungles, right? Let's say that I think they're still the Bungles until they prove me otherwise. So for that reason, I'm going Ravens.
Fair enough.
What do you think, Jimbo? You're not picking against us, are you?
Well, this will be the first time in history, ladies and gentlemen. I will let you know that I think it is just too much. It's too much of a hill to climb. I think the Ravens will give it their best shot. I think that John will have a great scheme, a great plan. But I think the Bengals get it done this week, guys. I'm not saying we don't get in the playoffs. I think we can pull off a win on the Rams with Lamar coming back. I think we can pull off a win with the Steelers and get in with a wild card. But I think this is the year for the Bengals for the division based on their combined health and roster. So I'm going with the Bengals in this game. 24-21, sheerly on health. It's just it's so insurmountable. And the other reason why I'm picking the Bengals is because I picked the Ravens the past 3 weeks and we've lost. So a little reverse jinx here. I'm hoping to jinx the Bengals. Okay. Give them a little bad juju because I see the kiss of death.
Who was it earlier that said that? Oh, it was Ravens O's Nation. Put on a Bengals jersey.
Yeah, so I'm trying to do a little bit of that, but certainly it's going to be an interesting one. DK also picked the Ravens to win as well at 28-20.
Of course we did. We're true fans, Jimmy.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
I'll never pick against her. I just can't do it. I mean, I remember you saying those words,
and
Jimbo.
I'm doing it as a sacrifice. You see?
I don't believe you.
Just like in the Old Testament, when they would sacrifice the fatted calf. All right? I'm at the altar of fandom. I'm sacrificing my fanhood and my pick in hopes.
Disappointed. Guys, I don't pick against our Ravens, okay? I pick our Ravens to win.
You did in the Chiefs game,
and
I picked the Ravens to win.
Jimbo. Quit looking in the rear view mirror.
I'm just saying.
Jimbo.
You said you don't do it. You obviously do it.
I'm just all I know is
against the Packers. That was last week, bro.
Well, I was right about that, and I was right the week before too. And I'm gonna be right this week when the Ravens go in and shock the world in Cincinnati.
I hope so. I hope my reverse jinx works. Football gods, take my offering, my fatted calf in my pick. And give the Ravens some good juju. Let's give some shout outs, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great Christmas, a great holiday weekend. Enjoy the game. Of course, join us after the game. We will be there. But I'm going to give a couple shout outs here, Glenn, and of course do the same. Nana Rave, Lisa Ann, thank you so much. Fabian, all the faithful Raven flock. Let's see who else we got here. Renaud, Billy Seals, of course. How's it going, Billy? Hopefully you're getting some snow up there in Canada.
Ravens flock. He made it. Ravens.
That's right.
Made it to a live. Too bad you were a little towards the end of it here, but we appreciate you showing out. And of course, you can restart this as soon as we're done.
That's right. All you guys that have come out tonight, it's been a blast.
Yeah, thanks for coming out in impromptu, an odd time for us.
Absolutely. So have a great holiday weekend. Enjoy the preview show. We will be back soon. And we'll talk. Make sure you get your guesses, your predictions in as well, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Dude, we are getting better.